Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulil Kareem wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Amma ba'd. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. So today's Wednesday, inshallah, we will have our Q&A, go over a few questions that we had. And then around 6:30 or just before 6:30, we will go live for the next Quranic summary session, inshallah. So the first question that we have today is, how much is the US dollar amount in Zakat Nisab? Now, with the Nisab amount, obviously it's fluctuating because the Nisab amount is actually in terms of gold and silver, and we know that those values kind of fluctuate. So the Nisab in gold is 87.48 grams, while the Nisab of silver is 612.36 grams. So one should always check the prices of these and see what the latest update is when it comes to the prices of that. Now, when it comes to which Nisab to follow, the scholars have given permissibility to follow either or. I normally recommend to follow the Nisab of silver, because it's a lesser amount. That way, a person can get the barakah of giving zakah and be eligible for that. Secondly, can we give zakah to a person whose real condition is unknown, but we have a general idea of the tough situation that they are in, including that there is no husband, the wife is teaching Islamic education, or a couple of kids who are in their 20s are working in stores, and there are also younger children who are less than 10 years old in the family? Do we need to further investigate the situation? Now, when it comes to giving zakah, obviously only those who are eligible can receive the zakah. Now, for some cases, it's going to be very hard to do a full, thorough investigation. Now, if a person has a general idea that, okay, these people, maybe the father is not there, so obviously there's no way that he is supporting. Then the mother is doing this, the children are working here, perhaps they're going to school, maybe they have all these debts, they have to pay all these student loans maybe, or these other conditions there, and they have these other kids that they have to take care of. People know that they're going through difficult circumstances and whatnot. Now, if one makes like an educated guess, I guess you can say that, okay, these people should be zakah eligible because of the situation that they're in, then inshallah, with an educated guess, it will be fine to give it to them, right? It's going to be impossible to determine. Now, it's very difficult to go to a person and say, hey, are you zakah eligible and can I give it to you? That's kind of embarrassing for some people. Even if they are zakah eligible, they will probably say, out of their own pride, I guess you can say that, no, we're not. Those are the people, mashallah, people who don't beg and don't ask. They will always do that. So with an educated guess, now one should not just blindly give like that, but if a person really knows them and has an idea, then in that case, inshallah, it will be fine to do so. Okay, next question, if my infant daughter receives a gold necklace, then do I as a father have to give zakah on it? If not now, then when would I have to? So the answer to this is, if it's hers and if it's her property, then no, the father does not have to give zakah on it. Now, it's in her possession. We know that zakah, even if a child has so much wealth, if a child has thousands of dollars even in their possession, since they're not mature and baligh, there's no zakah that is due upon them if it is their own wealth. Now, when the child gets older and comes baligh, and if they are eligible in terms of owning the nisab, then in that case, they have to start paying zakah from their wealth from the age of puberty, from the age of maturity. So it's important to keep that in mind when it comes to how much wealth is being accumulated by one's minors. Okay, next question is, what is the minimum number of ayats that one must recite in a particular Raka of Salah? I've read in some places that it must be 3 verses, but I've also read that one long verse would suffice. If one long verse is acceptable, would it be permissible for me to recite, for example, Ayatul Kursi after Surah Fatiha? How long is long enough? Yeah, so yes, that is true, that the scholars do say that you recite either one long verse or 3 short verses. Now, when it comes to the length of the one long verse, there's a couple of opinions. In the Hanafi madhab, if you look in the fiqh books, there's a couple of opinions that are mentioned in the madhab. One is that it must be a minimum of 18 letters. The other opinion is 30 letters. So I always go by the more conservative view of 30 letters. If you look in a a Quran and the lines of the book, you can usually say about 1.5 lines, 2 lines, maybe a couple of. That's about one long verse, 1.5 lines or 2 lines or whatever it may be. Now we know three small verses is sufficient as well. Even if a person says Ar-Rahman allama al-Quran khalaqa al-insan Allahu Akbar, that is also sufficient in terms of what is recited. So either or, it is permissible in terms of that particular way. Another question is, a person is saying that they've been listening to a particular qari's beautiful recitation during this month of Quran, which is great, mashallah. And initially I was reading along with him to improve my reading and tajweed, but I would end up getting into and start reciting aloud with him, meaning aloud with the recording. And he says he was learning a lot this way, but then he says that he also heard me mentioning in one of my summaries that when the Quran is recited, then you should remain silent. So he stopped doing that. And that was from when we did Surah A'raf. In the end, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِذَا قُرِئَ الْقُرْآنُ فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ وَأَنصِتُوا لَعَلَّكُمْ تُرْحَمُونَ. That when the Quran is being recited, then listen to it attentively and remain silent so that the mercy of Allah may descend down upon you. So that's one part. The next part of the question is for the last few nights that he says that I've been following along in English translation while listening to the Quran. And that has been a great experience as well. It's remarkable how many words I understand, and it's more effective than just reading the translation alone, meaning following it along with the actual Arabic. So he's saying, is it permissible to do both, either of these things or both these things or one or the other or whatnot? Now, in the case of وَإِذَا قُرِئَ الْقُرْآنُ فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ وَأَنصِتُوا لَعَلَّكُمْ تُرْحَمُونَ, this means that when the Quran is being recited and you are not being attentive in the case that you are doing something else. So you're having your own conversations, or you're watching TV and the Quran is being recited, or you're doing something else which is a means of taking away from that. That's what it means. And if a person is actually listening to a qari and they are reciting along with the qari, they are paying attention at that time, and they're doing it for the sake of learning their tajweed, in that case it is completely fine and it is permissible to do that because they are doing it for the sake of that education. And also when they're listening to the Quran and following along in the translation, that is also permissible because one is doing that for their own learning and for their own education. When it comes to being listening attentively, it means in the case of when you are not paying attention to it and doing something else, which is completely different. So that is the answer to that. Okay, about Tahajud Salah, can I recite after Surah Fatiha, can I recite Surah Ikhlas 3 times, for example, in every rak'ah? So instead of reciting Surah Ikhlas once, can they do it 3 times in the same rak'ah? So the answer is yes, you are allowed to do that. We know, of course, from the hadith regarding the recitation of Surah Ikhlas 3 times, it is as if a person has read the Quran, yani in terms of reward. So it is permissible to do that even within the Salah, to recite Surah Ikhlas 3 times in the same rak'ah. And can I read another question? We kind of answered this before Ramadan especially when it came to Taraweeh. Can I read Surah Yaseen or any surah in Tahajjud prayer by looking and reading from my phone, since I know only small surahs? So there's, of course, I had already answered this before, but there's differences of opinion with regards to this. Now, all these scholars say that in a farad prayer, one cannot read and look in a mushaf. But when it comes to the nawafil prayer, including tahajjud, the Hanafi opinion, the chosen view in the Hanafi madhab is that one should not do it because it's considered amal-e kathir, excessive action within the salah. But the other madhahib say that it is permitted that if one reads al-Quran, that itself is an ibadah. So in that case, it is permissible for one to do that. But my suggestion is that when you're doing salah, then even if you know a few short surahs, read the short surahs in the salah. And when you're outside of the salah, then read these surahs like Yaseen and other surahs that you may not know. Read it outside of salah. And inshallah, of course, you will get the great ajr that is mentioned about these surahs. Okay, final question for today is, somebody asked that what are some of the signs that are mentioned for Laylatul Qadr? Now, we know that the 21st, 23rd, 25th, and 27th night has passed. We still have the 29th night remaining, inshallah, which is tomorrow night. So there's still a possibility that tomorrow may be Laylatul Qadr. So there's a couple of hadith that talk about this. One hadith in Sahih Muslim, at the very end of the hadith, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam says that one of the indications is that the day, the next day after Laylatul Qadr, the sun will rise without rays around it. And this is similar to another hadith in Musnad Ahmad where Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, أَنَّ الشَّمْسَ تَطْلُعُ غَدَاةَ إِذْ كَأَنَّهَا طَسْتٌ لَيْسَ لَهَا شُعَاع, that the sun will rise in the morning as if it is a pan, meaning it has no beams. So it will just look like a round circle with no beams that are around it. So that is what one of the signs is. Another hadith in Musnad Ahmad mentions a few more signs. This is a hadith that's narrated by Ubadah ibn Samit radiyallahu anhu. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that the signs of Laylatul Qadr are, first of all, the night will be clear, as if there is a shining moon, and as if it is a motionless dwelling, meaning it will be nice and peaceful and there will be sakina in the air. The day will be such that it will not be cold, neither hot, and there will be no shooting star in the night until it becomes morning. And another sign is that the sun will rise, not having any rays like the moon, the night of the full moon. And the devil will not be allowed to come out that day. So these are a few things that are mentioned over here with the signs, as is in Musnad Ahmad. So whether Laylatul Qadr has passed or not this year, Allahu A'lam, alhamdulillah, we still have the 29th night, and we should take advantage of it as much as possible. As Ramadan is coming to an end, we should do whatever we can to take advantage of the remaining moments of this blessed month, and treat it as if it is our last Ramadan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best about that when our time will come, but we should always treat every Ramadan as if it is our last, and make sure that we take advantage of the great benefits that it has to offer. So that being said, we will inshallah end there for the Q&A session. We will inshallah. Okay, yeah, we will end there for the Q&A. Inshallah, I'll be back closer to 6:30. Inshallah, we will go over the 27th and the 28th juz summary, inshallah. So I will see you then. Jazakallahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.